Hi. So I'm making a part six of The Earth is My Mother, I Shall Not Want, because I touched on this topic uh, earlier on where I was like, in nature, there's no unemployed organism. Everyone's busy doing something. The trees are photosynthesizing, and with whatever chemical reactions their roots are doing, adding nutrients to the soil. Okay. The microbes are digesting things and adding nutrients to the soil, and the birds are building nests and feeding their babies. The fish are eating and feeding their babies. Everyone's busy, from the time they wake up to the time they sleep, they are busy doing stuff which makes their quality of life better and in a sustainable manner. Okay. Completely in sync with the planet. In winter, the bears in the north, they hibernate for however long that they do. That's doing stuff. They are occupied in some sort of employment, right? But then when it comes to us as humans, we have this idea that unless you are working in a job that pays you money in the fiat currency cash or digital cash in your bank account that we have, then you're unemployed and you're not adding value, you know? And it also becomes very difficult to increase the quality of your life if you're not in that type of formal employment, right, for this money. Um, and this is just another way that we see how out of sync we are with the planet. You know, I mean, growing food for ourselves. Yes, not everyone is interested in growing food for themselves. That's fine. But there are a lot of people who actually are. Like if you go to different areas around Gauteng, you will see people on empty plots of land, whether it's municipal land or privately owned land, people are growing food. Those people are probably registered as unemployed with the government, but they're actively engaged in providing food for themselves and their families. Some of them even sell it, and they make some money from it. Or, I don't know, they use it as an exchange method for goods that they need in a barter type of system, right? But I think there's something which is psychologically very damaging and which is contrary to the nature of the earth in the term unemployment, right? Because, like I say, it denotes or connotes actually both that you're not adding value to the economy of the country, to the GDP. And, in as we know it, the GDP is like the be all and end all basically of how healthy the economy of a country is. But if you think about um, the idea that if you're not adding value in a monetary sense to the economy or to your own like bank account, then you're not um, a valuable person. I think it's very problematic because if you look at the earth, she values every single one of her inhabitants. She provides for everyone, and yet because of this economic system, which is so rigid about defining who is adding value and who is not, people are put in a psychological frame which says, because you're not adding value, almost like you don't deserve to be here, you know? Um, and I think it really requires us to rethink what we mean by employment and unemployment, okay? So that people can start to see that everything that they do, if it's being done with the aim of bettering their life, the lives of their families, the lives of their communities, is valuable employment. They're doing stuff. To be employed is to work, is to be occupied in a productive activity, right? Just because you're not getting paid money by someone to do it doesn't mean it's not productive. I mean, for example, when there's a storm and or we during the rainy season, we get potholes in the road, right? There's people who make it their business to fill these potholes. They're not getting paid for it, but they're doing something very valuable for society. They might be classified as unemployed, right? Um, when the traffic lights down the road from where I live were not working for like months and months on end, a bunch of homeless dudes who like live on the streets took it upon themselves to direct traffic, like how traffic cops do, or traffic wardens, whatever. And they helped us because doing the whole four-way stop thing for 50 or 100 cars is hectic. It's time consuming, right? For us as motorists. But with these guys, they're just taking it upon themselves to direct traffic. We were able to deal with moving through traffic much more quickly and smoothly, right? So they were adding value. They created employment for themselves, the opportunity. They didn't get paid. I think maybe some people would have tipped them here and there, but you know what I mean? So I think we need to move past us being valuable if we're adding to the GDP. I think we need to really look at how nature functions. If you're feeding your children and yourself, you are adding incredible value. Whether you're doing it by paper money purchases at a shop or growing food in your garden or in a plot of land somewhere, it's incredible value. It's incredible value, you know. If you're a parent who volunteers at a school to, I don't know, coach soccer or something, right? And the school maybe can't afford a soccer coach, and you take it upon yourself. Let's say you're an unemployed person and you're like, well, I don't have anything else to do. Let me just coach soccer at this school. You're adding incredible value. These kids now have a coach to teach them a sport which is fun for them to do. You know what I'm saying? An obvious example of someone who adds incredible value is a parent who stays at home with their kids. You know, this person is technically unemployed because they're not working for someone to pay them a salary or whatever. But they're taking care of their kids. They're taking them to the doctor. They're taking them to nursery school. They're taking them shopping for clothes. They're changing their diapers. They're bathing them. They're dressing them. They're making sure that they're not too cold or too hot. They're giving them medication when they're sick. They're comforting them when they're distressed for some reason, feeding them. You know what I mean? You're raising a human being to be comfortable and happy so that their brain develops in a state of ease without stress, so that they become a much more well-adjusted human being. That is adding a whole lot of value to society, you know. And I think we need to develop a culture of thinking of employment and unemployment in really fundamentally different ways, so that in that discourse we teach people that whether or not they're earning a salary, they are valuable, that they have the potential to add value and to increase the quality of life of themselves and their families and their communities. And like another thing is like, when, you know, the sense of community that a lot of us grew up in like, you know, the townships or the village or whatever, in these urban areas where we live, it tends to get lost because, you know, everyone is like living in their own little house in this sprawling metropolis, and there's so many of us. It's difficult to develop that sense of community. But, you know, we can develop it when we engage in occupations that bring value to the community, value which cannot be quantified in monetary terms. But for example, let's say we do like community policing forums, for example. That adds a huge amount of value, and it also adds this amazing value called social cohesion. You know, when a community can count on each other to be there for each other in good times and bad, that is extremely valuable, because people then feel like they belong, and human beings have a deep need to feel like they belong. It helps us to function and regulates our nervous system and feel like we are valuable and valued. And that's very important. So I think, you know, we have to start seeing ourselves as way more than just cogs in the machine of the economy, and as human beings, and see ourselves the way the earth sees us, as valuable living beings who are here and who, in every way that we act with the intention to help, are adding a huge amount of value, not only on the physical plane, in the material sense, but actually your good intention, your ability to connect and help people to connect with each other spiritually, emotionally, is extremely valuable. And it helps people, you know, to feel that sense of well-being. And that's very valuable. Yeah, thank you.